Hey guys, it's Andrea. My plan was to try to sit in front of my bookshelf again and record there because I cleaned up my room. But not only is my fan in the way because it's hot, but my PlayStation 2 broke, so I was just kind of sitting on my floor because I've had it since forever and I just feel really weird to just get rid of it. But this is what you're gonna get. I am almost perfectly in between my two closet doors and I didn't do that on purpose, so be thankful. Today, I wasn't even planning on this when I started this book, but I took some notes after I was done with it and I was like, oh, this could be a booktube video. I'm going to talk to you about Emergency Contact by Mary H. Kate Choi. I believe is how you pronounce the last name. It was interesting, to say the least. Probably should have seen what I had marked it on Goodreads first, and my notes are on my phone, so we're just going to check Goodreads real quick. I finished this book, I believe, in 3 days. It was a very easy read. It wasn't rated 2 stars, which, okay, I'd about say that is what it deserves, is about 2 stars. So here are my notes on it. I don't have a lot on here, but there are a lot of discussion points. So, if you've never heard of this book, I believe it is a YA contemporary, would be, or maybe a romance. It's about this girl named Penny, and it follows 2 people. One is Penny, who is an Asian American girl. I believe it is Korean descent. She's from Korean descent. And she lives with her mom, who's kind of overbearing and teenager-ish, and is just entering her freshman year of college. She gets connected to Sam, who through her new college roommate, who it's kind of hard to describe that relationship. Sam was her roommate's uncle by marriage, way back when, but they're really close in age, I guess is the easiest way to describe it. So basically, they meet. He works at a coffee shop close by, and she finds him, and he's having a panic attack, and she kind of helps him through it, and helps him, get himself together, basically, and becomes his emergency contact on his phone, and they just, text each other constantly and become closer, open up about their mothers, open up about their lives in general. And basically that's it. I mean, they get together at the end, which is to be expected. I know that's kind of spoilery, but it's a romance. So, that is the basic premise of this book. And writing-wise, it wasn't my taste. Every chapter will flop between Penny's perspective and Sam's perspective, but not in first person, which is fine. I felt that it was very simple, and then you would find a couple of bigger words put in there, which was off-putting sometimes. I found, and we'll get into it with my notes, but I found the pop culture references were kind of pushed on. I felt like the diversity was kind of forced in areas. There were some heavy topics that were just kind of brushed off. What else can I give you as an overview? Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'll just get into my notes and go one thing at a time and just talk about the book. It shouldn't really be that long of a video. It's a pretty short book. It is 394 pages on the hardcover, and the print isn't huge. And like I said, it isn't a difficult read. Personally, I couldn't imagine this being a difficult read for avid readers, or even non-avid readers. I mean, it might take you a while to get through, but it isn't difficult or anything. So, my first note was that the diversity seemed a little bit forced, and I'm not talking about the main characters necessarily, but there were some characters that I just kind of felt like the author was trying to put more diverse characters in there just for the sake of diversity. That's not what I meant. Hang on. I know how I'm trying to word this. It is just for the sake of diversity, but it's also oh, I want to seem like I am really inclusive and blah blah blah. And that was just kind of the vibe that I got from it, I guess. I'm not saying diversity is a bad thing at all. I really appreciate books with diversity. I search for books with diversity, but just some of the things, it just wasn't needed. And I'll get into that more later, like just some things that just weren't needed. And I don't know, there were sometimes where diversity is mentioned and race or a topic was mentioned, and then it was like, whatever. It wasn't mentioned again, it wasn't talked about again. It didn't really bring any awareness to it, just kind of said like, oh, here's this, and then it was like, okay, that's sad, and then kind of went on. And I feel like that's how the diversity was, like, it was there, it was mentioned for a second, and then the character wasn't there again, or anything like that. And I know, like, a book with diverse characters doesn't need to have, like, complex, diverse characters. It doesn't need to be about race or religion or anything. But I just felt like the diversity was just there to try to look good, basically. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. There's a big bee outside my window. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm not conveying this right. I'm just going to continue on, and it's very possible that my point will come across a little bit better, but basically it felt forced. I mean, it's what I'm trying to ramble on about. Next, I know a lot of people love this book, and a lot of people probably aren't going to agree with my opinion of a 2-star or anything that I'm saying, but I know from what I've heard about this book that a lot of people love the dialogue and think that it's like, oh, like such the right things to say, and it's so romantic. I felt that it was boring. I felt that it was cliche is a better word for it. Just the way the characters talk to each other, it was just weird. And it kind of goes back to like the trying to be in with the times. I just felt like the way that they were talking and texting and stuff was just very, it was trying to seem cool, basically. I think is what the book was doing. I think that also goes to the diversity of the book too, is it was just trying to seem cool, like in with the times, without really doing a lot. This book is just kind of here, honestly. I could have given it a 3-star, because there are moments in it that I liked more, but that's towards the end. So, going back to like the diversity and stuff, I felt like the characters were vanilla, they were bland, they were cookie cutter, I have one personality, I don't go into depth about anything, never like, the characters were basically one-sided, they weren't complex, they're boring. Even our main characters, Sam is the only character in the book that I think I really like, at all, but, I don't know, it was just, they're all very cookie cutter. They're all very, I have one personality, that's my personality. That's it. That's me. I mean, you look at the roommate whose name is Jude. Penny's roommate, Jude. Is it Jude? I can't remember. I can't even find her name. Yes, Jude. You have her roommate, not Jude, her roommate's friend, who, I'm not looking up her name right now. I probably should have had, like, their names. See, I can't even remember their names, and I just read this. Her roommate's best friend was, like, you know, my hair's so frizzy. It's, like, all about fashion and just trying to look cool and, like, oh, I have a hot boyfriend in another country and blah, 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 and I have money. And, like, that's it. That's it to her character. She had a redeeming moment towards the end, but not enough that I liked her. And that's just kind of how all the characters are. It's like, oh, I let this one trait completely define me, and that's how all the characters except for Sam are. And it's really annoying to read, like, you know, 1 or 2 characters, there are people who are like that. There are people in life where they're, like, their life and, like, maybe 1 or 2 traits dictates everything that they do. But when I'm reading a book, 1 or 2 characters maybe is fine, but when it's all the characters or 99% of the characters, I can't do it. So, I have 2 things that kind of go together here, in my notes. So, trigger warning for anybody. The subject of rape and illegal immigrants are brought up in this book. I don't feel like either one was handled great. Kind of going back to what I was saying at the beginning, they were just kind of mentioned. They were there. We'll discuss it, like, barely. The illegal immigration wasn't even discussed. Sam is in school. He's taking a class. He wants to make movies. So he goes out and he has to make a documentary for this class and finds a group of high school boys, I guess. I don't remember how old they were. I think like early high school, who are skater kids, and he just wants to document them. And so the one skater kid brings him to his mom's like juice stand, and they're of some sort of Hispanic background. I don't know. I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it might have been Mexican, but I'm not 100% sure. This book does take place in Texas, so that's possible, but there's so many Hispanic countries, I'm not really sure. And the kid just mentions that his mom... Oh, Sam needs him to sign something. I remember now. Sam needs him to sign some sort of permission slip, and he says my mom can't, because she's an illegal immigrant. And Sam's like, oh, okay. And that's it. That's the conversation. I mean, not every big issue that is brought up in a book needs to be discussed, but if you're gonna bring it up, maybe, I don't know, there has to be a reason that you're bringing that up. You shouldn't just be bringing that up to bring it up. It's a touchy subject for many people. It is a huge issue, especially today. I don't know when this book really came out. Might have come out a little bit longer ago. Let's see. Nope, copyright 2018. So, I think that just to bring up an issue that's serious, like that so many people debate over, and just kind of brush it off as annoying. There was no other mention besides that, except for how she's scared to try to get her citizenship. And then a little bit of commenting about how, like, ISIS and stuff, but it wasn't my personal taste. I wish, like, if you're gonna bring up an issue like that, talk about it more, include it more. I mean, this kid wasn't really a major character or anything, and we're just kind of like, oh, okay. And the same thing happened. It's kind of a spoiler, but I'm assuming if you're watching this review, you've seen this, like, with all the other book reviews that I do. Penny is talking to Sam and kind of just pours her heart out to him that she was raped while she was in high school by a tutor of hers for French class. And they just kind of talk about it for a minute, and then she's like, okay, I cried it out, I'm okay. And Sam's like, okay, that should have never happened to you. And then it's not really mentioned again, and I found that really annoying, especially because that one is, like, that issue, again, is way touchy. It's really triggering for a lot of people, and it involves our main character, and for her just kind of be like, okay, I told you, and then it's not discussed again, and then Sam just kind of like, oh, sorry that happened to you, that's horrible. It's just annoying. I feel like the issues in here weren't handled right. I feel like it was kind of daring for such a short novel to try to include something like that in a novel that's pretty lighthearted for the rest of it. Yeah. It just didn't really appreciate it. I didn't like it. I didn't feel like it brought anything to the novel. I felt like it took away from it. I don't really have much more to say about it. I'm just kind of rambling at this point because I'm trying to make sure I'm getting my point across. So, let's see. Another small thing. There are a lot of descriptors for the characters when they first are introduced, but the farther you go along, it isn't really mentioned again what they look like that much, so it was really easy for me to forget, and I just never remembered what anyone looked like. I mean, I kind of had a picture of it from here, and for Penny, I almost saw her as the author, whose picture is in the back of the book, just because no one is really described that well. I mean, Sam's tattoos are described in depth, and if they are described in depth, it's one time, and I'm not going to remember that for the rest of the novel. Something as simple as, like, describing her hair color, if she's, like, moving her hair out of her face or something, just kind of giving a better picture of things. I just had a really hard time with that. And, just more on characters. If this book was just about Sam and his issues with his alcoholic mother, which is actually an issue that is brought up in this book that is discussed thoroughly and really shows what type of impact it has on people and makes a bigger comment on it and really puts that into the story. If this book was just on Sam, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. I thought Penny was annoying. I felt like she was highly unlikable, and everyone has flaws, but she was just completely unlikable. I just felt like Sam was actually the only in-depth character. I felt like he had more than one personality trait. I felt like his issues actually drove his personality and his decisions and stuff. And he had like real life issues, not to diminish any of Penny's feelings in this because her feelings are completely valid, but I felt like his issues were discussed more and were more relatable in certain senses than Penny. And Penny, just her issues were talked about like off and on, and it just, I don't know, it seemed very disconnected from her character. I don't really know how to describe it. So sorry, there's like a big carpenter bee, like a big bumblebee outside my window that is so distracting, and I try to look down at my notes and I forget where I am, and I'm trying not to like shred this book to pieces or sound like a butthole this entire thing. But so basically the end of my notes, which is just like 4 bullet points, this is like, I decided like half of this novel that I wanted to do this review, so I actually started to write down some notes, and now we're at the end of the book basically for my notes. So it did pick up at the end, and it really saved it from being a 1-star review. So I think that the ending and just Penny and Christine having their moment and all, I just felt like it gave her mother, who's Celestine, I don't even think I said her name, her mother, her roommate, and her a little bit more depth that I wanted from the rest of the novel. I think that a couple comments that were made between her and her mother hit close to home, so that also gave it a little bit of bonus points. And if the rest of the book was written as well as... Did you hear that? I hope I didn't just pause and you didn't hear that bird. I have to watch this back. I think if the rest of the book was written like the scene I was taking notes on, I would have gotten a 3-star. It was more passionate, it was more in depth, it wasn't trying hard to be cool and make all these like references and all of that stuff. And then right after that, it went back to some bad dialogue that was annoying and trying to seem cool. Maybe if I was 14 again, I would have liked this a lot more, but being 17, 18 in a few days, in like a month, no. Overall, the ending was a lot better. I did give this 2 stars, like I said. Yeah, I mean, those are basically the comments that I have about it. So I think the closing comment I'll use for this review is, with a little bit of context, Penny has a bag that she carries around that comes up a few times in the novel, and she has like a whole bunch of emergency supplies in it. Like, she has snacks and band-aids and literally anything you would ever want in a bag. And she's asked a few times why she hasn't. She doesn't say anything. She says, oh, I just want to be prepared, like blah blah blah. And it seems like we're going to go more in depth about it, and then we never do. We could have. I don't remember ever finding out what's in the bag. So that's my review. I know I rambled a little bit, but some points that I really want anyone watching this to take away is that I personally didn't like the writing style. I felt like the author was trying to make it seem cool with diversity, with the dialogue, and pop culture references that I wouldn't know about. Like, some of them I didn't really know what they were. If this book was just about Sam, it would have been better. It did have a few redeeming qualities, as I talked about. I didn't like that it brought up issues and just kind of like was like whatever with them, which I know I explained a lot, so I'm not going to go into. And yeah, I don't really recommend this. I usually give reviews to books that I recommend, but I really just want to talk about this because a lot of people like it, and as soon as someone says anything negative about it, people will start to get upset about it. And this is just my opinion. I don't really care if you like this book. This could be your cup of tea. You could completely disagree with me, and that's absolutely fine. There are books that I like that a lot of people don't like, and we're all entitled to enjoy what we want to read. I just think that talking about some of the things in the books and giving my opinion, I just feel like sharing it. And I feel like for people who are thinking about reading this book, you can decide if it's worth it or not. I don't know how many people are really going to watch this video, but I hope you enjoyed. I'll leave all my socials down below. If you didn't know, I have been doing a lot of like tarot work here on my YouTube channel and on those socials, so it isn't just book talk anymore. But feel free to follow anyways. Everything will be linked down below. And I really hope that you enjoyed and that y'all have a good day.